Welcome to Engineer Campus, where I show you how to bring your idea into a product. And today we will talk about the requirement list. The requirement list is a list of criteria that you have to achieve for the product to be successful. Why do you need this? I want to give the example of the movie Pentagon Wars from 1998, where the Bradley is developed as a personal carrier, so an armored vehicle that carries troops. Its goal is changed in several intervals into a hybrid of a troop carrier, a scout vehicle, and an anti-tank platform. The capacity changed from 11 to 6 persons, and it has high firepower but only aluminium armor to be fast enough for scouting. So it can attack tanks, but it can't be possibly attacked by tanks or anything which is against armor. So what do? You need to make goals for your product, and you have to define the goals right. You do this by using SMART goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time related. So specific means target a specific area for improvement. Measurable, quantity indicator for progress. Assignable is specifically you will do the task. And realistically is that state a realistic goal given available resources, and all this in a specific timeline, so with an end in mind. So what we see here is the header of the list of requirements. The rest is basically the same, and here you have a list of requirements headline, and directly below it you have the classes, which are here noted as D equals demand, W is wish, and PW is if possible wish. You have in the headline the department and responsible person that has to be contacted if changes on the requirement list are done or if there are any questions. The project name, of course, and the date when the project was started. And then you have the list of criteria itself with a class, again, demand, wish, or if possible wish. So just for an example, a coffee machine would have the demand to brew a specific amount of coffee, for example, or to at least brew coffee, hot coffee. Whereas a wish would be the amount of coffee, for example, that there is a minimum amount or a maximum amount, or that there is some kind of material that would be good if it's used. And if possible wish would be maybe the color. That is not really important, but if it is possible to do, then it would be a nice have. So then basically after the class is the description of the criteria. And then we have the value of the criteria, where we then give a metric. Again, SMART goal, M is for measurable. So if we can give it a value, then we can directly check without any problems if we reach this criteria. And of course we need to add the source and the date. The source is the person responsible that added this criteria, and it could also be, for example, quoted as source. For example, a regulation that says, for example, for hospital toolery, for hospital machines, that there is a specific paragraph that states that this criteria has to be added. And date, of course, to keep track of changes. And I have down in the description, I have a link where you can also download your own list of requirements and fill it out for your product, together with an explanation for the categories, but I will still go over the categories real quick. The criteria has to be listed in the requirement list. They are defined by SMART goals, and they define what the product should fulfill. They are weighted basically in importance with demand, wish, and if possible wish. And you have the sources and the date for each criteria. You have a lot of different categories where you can put them on. It's very flexible. but just as a guideline, these following categories should be used. You have functions and negative effects, where is basically the main function, and functions that counter negative effects. For example, if you have a device that, just for brewing coffee, for example, then it has to has the criteria for a specific amount of coffee, and the negative effect would be that the coffee goes cold, so it also have to maybe a criteria where it keeps the coffee warm. Environment is everything where that impacts the machine and impacts from the environment on the machine as well as supply of the machines, for example, energy supply. To connect with environment. Safety, for example, are safety measures against accidents and limiting of possible harm to the surrounding. Ergonomics and design enables a comfortable use and a fulfilled experience, and is surrounding the main functions. Basically, good wrapping, a nice pretty wrapping, and it's good bonus point. It may sell your product. People want to have pretty things. Construction is everything regarding physiology of the device, what material you will choose, where the location of parts is, and for example, a criteria like maximum weight, adaptability or individuality, passive cooling, symmetry, all this. Production could be manufacturing process or the details about production questions. You could say that, for example, the product has to be 3D printed or it has to be wielded. This could be all required depending on, for example, the costs that you have. Then you have transportation as a category, where you say list criteria and requirements for delivery, for the method of delivery, for packaging, and of course also includes criteria regarding the movement of the product in use. The service is the function, also a function surrounding the product, and is what might be needed to guarantee quality and for the increase the satisfaction of the customer. Could be, for example, guarantees. Here noted would be, for example, also an operation time. You could say that you need a hotline for the product, or you could also say that if you have, for example, machinery, that it's only accessible by a worker using a special key. And last but not least, you have costs. It could be the expected costs or the additional costs, and this category influences heavily the product. If you build a car and you say you have expected cost of $1 million per car, then you can put a lot of money in a car. But when you say, oh, we just put 10,000 in a car, then you end up with a soapbox, and which is very limiting your ability to create this product. And it's also an important metric for investors if you want to plan your product and then go out after all the development and find someone. This is where they will look at how much will it cost, how much money will I get out of it, and then they look into what exactly is done. So as a conclusion, the criteria might not clearly fit in a category. One category is more important than the other, less important, so the categories are not value judged. You have only the class, demand. You have only the class, demand, wish, possible wish, and you have included sources and dates for updates. And what you also should include is as many criteria that are necessary to frame your product properly, so that you have a specific goal and that you need to know which direction to go and how to measure progress. So I hope to learn something and it was interesting for you, and I see you in the next step. Thank you.